Yes, hello world, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of PaNZIT the Pad podcast. And I'm one of your hosts, Joseph Tehal, coming to you still from Wellington, New Zealand, because we cannot travel anywhere in the world. Oh, except Australia now. And again, thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so you get the latest episodes. And just to highlight as well, all our videos are published on our website, panzitpro.com. And hey, Mike, just like that, we're on our 9th episode, is it? How good is that?
Yeah, I'm so excited and also surprised actually that we're able to finish 9 episodes. So we're also actually nearing to our first season as well, Joseph, as we talked to. Yeah, but we are going to continue doing this. We love doing and talking to interesting people like our guest today, Nick Wong. So yeah.
Yeah, as you've mentioned, Mike, today we will talk to Nicholas Wong. Nick is an Agile coach for Epic Agile and is also based here in Wellington, New Zealand. Hey, Nick, welcome to the show and thanks for making time. How have you been? It's been a while.
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Yeah, I'm really stoked.
Awesome.
I'm really glad to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're kind of missing the face-to-face meetups, just like how we do it like about more than 2 years ago, is it? Yeah.
I know, yeah.
It's been a while, more than 2, yeah.
Yeah. But definitely it's great to have you on the show. We're excited. We know you're going to be teaching us a lot of things when it comes to Agile. So I think we can kick off by having some introduction. We want to know you more on the personal level. What do you do? And maybe what do you do to relax outside of work?
Okay. What do I do? So I'm a coach by day. I'm also an Agile coach, professional coach, and I do some consulting. I also do some training. So that's my day job. Now, when I'm not in the day job, let's see. I'm a happy dad, I guess. I try not to have any timetables because I won't be able to stick to anything. But also, I think I try to find little things here and there. I enjoy music a lot. And I don't know, if Spotify wasn't a thing now, I'm not sure if I would get by most days. The tracks that they find for me is awesome.
Right.
So I listen to music, unwind, I guess, watch the odd Netflix or TED Talk, just try to learn a little bit on the side and just get by, I think. Yeah. Nothing serious.
If you look at your Spotify playlist, what are the top 3 songs in there?
Oh, let's see. Well, there's some dance music in there, I'm sure.
Right.
And orchestra.
I didn't know that you're dancing.
Intriguing.
Well, no, I just listen. Someone else is doing the dance.
All right. All right. So anyway, it's a bit of a segue there, but Nick, we'll dive into talking about Agile. I have experience working with you as an Agile coach in multiple occasions, and I know you are doing an amazing job in that role. So can you tell our listeners really the layman's terms of what Agile is? Because people has been talking about Agile DevOps and why is the industry are embracing these principles?
Question. Well, I think the best way to explain it is maybe if I can use an analogy.
Yes.
Something every day. Let's think of agility or Agile as like modes of transportation, right? To you and I, right? A car would get us most places, as an example, right? We'll get there, we'll park, and then we'll carry on with whatever it is we're trying to do. But so can a bus or an airplane or a bicycle, right? Bicycle would get us there. We might get a little bit sweaty, and we might not be able to travel as fast, right? So if I want to get fit, right? Getting in a car is not going to help me, so I might choose a bicycle. If I need to travel far and fast, I might take a plane. What I'm trying to say here is, all of us, whether we're giving advice, we're in the company itself, we're trying to find better ways of working, we're trying to improve our business acumen. It's all about what is the current challenges that the company is facing. Because if without that contextual information, you could try everything, you could take them all and then never know just how well you succeed. Right? You kind of need to be selective about what you do and then, live and breathe the mindset, because if I'm not doing it, I can't be that for someone else, right? They're
Mm.
just going to look at me and go, right, give me a guidebook, give me the top 10 things to do, and then I'll do it,
Yeah.
and then that means I'm agile. But you can't teach someone to think
Mm.
a different way,
Mm.
right? You got to get
That's
them
right.
to,
That's right.
to attack it, to tackle it outside of the box. And so sometimes you have to get creative, but, I guess sometimes you want to take that plane, sometimes you need to take that bus. But
Mm.
it's not about taking the plane or the bus. It's about what you do after you're there at your destination.
Mm.
Right. So
Mm.
in many ways, agile is not about the type of transport we take, but what we do with it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's really good analogy, and
It
I think
is.
that is easy to understand
Uh-huh.
what agile is. Yeah. So the next question I asked earlier is, why do you think an industry like
Mhm.
IT industry, for example, are embracing these
Yeah.
principles? I mean, yeah,
What triggered it at some point?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, a lot of companies I find, going off field and seeing what people
mm,
do, a lot of it starts from, oh, someone else over there did that and they seem quite successful, so let's try to
mm,
do that too.
Oh.
But
mm,
also, I think equally people are realizing the old traditional ways of doing things, maybe maybe we need to ask some hard questions of it, today. There's a
mm,
lot of promises up front, and then maybe things don't quite, it's not always the case, but most
Mhm.
times they might not achieve what they set out to do. And I think, when you've been burned once, you kind of go, all right, maybe it was just unlucky. When it's
Yeah.
two
mm,
times, three times, four times, you start looking for something else. And because it's out there, it's so popular, it's on the web, it's everywhere.
mm,
It's hard to sort of be looking and not see it,
mhm,
And for the most part, it kind of just makes sense, right? If you look at the principles and the values, it's just about better collaboration.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Good
If you
point.
know something,
mm,
if you find something you're doing here, just talk to someone about it. Don't
mm,
just keep it away and then hope no one finds it.
mm,
So it's fairly
that's
common
right.
sense in nature. That
Yeah.
in itself is quite attractive,
Mm,
I
mm,
believe.
mm.
I think those are,
That's
yeah, those are really good points. And we've already touched on the principles of agile methodologies and whatnot, but we also know that there are a lot of people, personalities involved in the process as well. And I myself sometimes, all right, what's an agile coach?
yeah.
What's an Scrum master? Um,
Mm.
what's the difference between all these personalities involved in such
Mm,
methodologies and whatnot? Maybe you can shed
mm,
light.
mm.
Yeah, of course. Why don't we just keep using that modes of transportation, right?
All
Because I
right,
think
sure.
it
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
let's do that.
yeah.
So in a way, an agile coach is like a driver,
Oh,
right? They can drive a
Mm,
bus, a car, or hopefully
mm,
they can drive a plane too, and a bicycle, right?
mhm.
Um, it's really dependent on what the need is.
That's
Whereas a
right.
scrum master is very specific,
mm,
right? They're kind of like the bus
Mm,
conductor. You only find them on buses,
yeah.
right? You don't find someone walking down the aisle of a plane trying to clip your air ticket,
mm,
right? So
Mm,
in that sense, a scrum master is very specific to scrum, right? They're like the team coach. They're like the person who embraces
mm,
agility, oozes agility. They're the ones who, if the team's going, hey, should I hang on to this secret or should I go talk to someone? Maybe I'll check
mm,
with my local scrum master. Hey, what do you
right,
think?
right.
mm.
Right? But when an
Cool.
agile coach is brought in, it 9 times out of 10, it tends to be we don't know what to do,
Mm,
right? We've got all these
Right.
problems right.
Yeah.
What do you think we need to solve them? And so a
Mm,
coach has to be a little bit more sort of, I guess fairly more T-shaped. You kind of need
mm-hmm.
to know what's available, what's out there, right?
Mm,
What's been tried, what's been tested, what were the results, and then
mm,
what's been tried and tested elsewhere, and what were those results? So you kind of need to have a
mm,
very wide berth of knowledge almost. And it's
mm-hmm.
not always about whether we take the bus, bike, or car or plane. Those are
uh,
all options. But sometimes you need to take more than one,
Yes.
right? Maybe I ride a
Mm,
bike to the bus stop and then take a bus
mm, mm,
and to the airport and then take a plane.
mhm,
So, having someone who can sort of understand the horizon view, like the big picture, and then
mm-hmm.
having someone more localized and more accessible to the teams, we
Mm,
kind of play a similar game, but from different perspectives, right? From different locations.
mm.
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
That's definitely a very good way of looking at it,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now I have a better,
Great.
understanding of the difference of these two
Yes.
roles. Yeah, in the future, if I'm going to deal with them, I know how to deal with the coach, and I will know how to deal with
So
the Scrum
true.
Master.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing that also are very interesting in this conversation is, when we talk about agility, fast, fail small and recover faster. This type of, I would say, approach also overlaps with the principles of DevOps and Agile. So, what do you think are the difference between these two approaches, or is there an overlap really, or are they actually the same?
Okay. Um, so for DevOps and Agile, they kind of want to achieve the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They are different, I guess, different in themselves as to what they are. So Agile
Mm-hmm.
itself is a mindset, right? It's a way of approaching a thing. It's habit, it's reflex, it's your natural self, if you will. So if someone said to you, "Hey, should I do a big upfront design, and then roll out over 2 years, or should I just do increments of 3 weekly sprints and then just sort of bring it up
Yes.
to 2 years anyway?"
Hmm.
Right? Then your natural instinct is automatically that, not because you read it in a book, just because you're living and breathing the values and principles.
Mm-hmm.
DevOps is a practice, right? It's
Right.
about tying development and operations together,
Mm.
tightly coupling them such that you produce less errors, you kind of get to release your code sooner. It's about tightening that whole development build release process, right? And because
Yes,
you're
yes, yes,
tightening
yes.
it, you're improving it, and you're optimizing it, your speed to market is ultimately quicker as a result of. Right. And so in that sense, it's similar to Agile because you're trying to release small and frequent increments,
That's
Yep.
right. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
in terms of that, they're both sort of working towards the same outcome,
Mm-hmm.
but sort of covering different subject areas again.
Sweet. Yeah,
Interesting.
now that we know that DevOps is a practice, we also hear about a lot of different methodologies when it comes to Agile. And one of those is one of the familiar things I would hear is Kanban. And Mike and I, we both know that you are also a Kanban enthusiast. So with all those methodologies out there, do you think there's the most effective way, and why not? And which one is it?
Most effective, probably not.
Uh-huh.
And I say this because, yeah, I mean, I have my favorites, and
Yep.
it's hard not to, right? It's like having so many options and going, oh, I really like how lean this is, or I really
Yes.
like how
Yes. Yeah.
beautifully worded this thing is. Right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
ultimately, you got to find the right size to fit the right foot. And everyone's got a different foot. Every company's got a different footprint. Every company's got a different problem. Every client has got a different problem. So even if you have two companies, carbon copy of each other, if one is the CEO approaching you and the other one is a squad lead approaching you and saying, "Hey, I've got problems with agility in my organization," already,
Yes.
right? The scope of it is so different.
Hmm.
So if you're looking at one or two team sort of size agile effort, you could maybe go with the popular favorites, give it a go, right? I think it's almost dangerous to prescribe a specific method and say it has to be this or it has
Good
to be
point.
that,
Hmm.
right? And then when they're not following the practices, the framework, the methodology, whatever that might be, then they're not this or they're not that.
True.
That's very, very uncool, I think. Like I like
Yeah.
to bring people with me, right? They've never seen this before. I might have seen it many times, but someone else hasn't. So don't ruin it for them, right? Would you go to a friend or colleague and tell them the ending of the Game of Thrones series if they
Oh
haven't seen
no.
it? That's not
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got to tell them, which episode are you on now? And then, yeah, let's talk about it. So
Yeah.
in a similar way, you wouldn't go and say, no, the answer is this. Thank you. See you later. No, you wouldn't do
Hmm.
that. That would be very
Yeah.
unkind. But you would ask
Cool.
them, so what are you
Yeah.
finding about the show? You would, really walk with them instead
Right.
of,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really a good answer from you, because I think no size fits all, right? It's more of a journey, and I think that's where that's the importance of having a coach like you to actually herd this people to align with what they want to attain in the in the implementation that they are using that methodology. But yeah, going back to the agile adoption, there are companies who famously succeed on their implementation, and others who famously failed as well.
Epic fails.
So if it fails, yeah. So in the eye of an agile coach like you, what do you think are the reasons why they fail or they succeed?
That's a good one, Mike. Yeah.
What are the reasons? So there will be many. I can cover a couple.
Yeah.
I find like the ones that succeed really keep improving, right? And they focus on the things that matter, right? Not the vanity stuff like, are we on the, I don't know, Forbes top 50 or whatever. They kind of really focus on the things that matter towards agility. So they don't just sort of get there believing the destination and then that's it. We'll just maintain. No, you got to keep going because everything else is going, right?
Yes.
It's not something it's a once and done deal. It's an ongoing thing, and that's why it might be important. But also that they go in a way that continues to inspect and adapt on their organization, and they need to be able to measure their progress and evaluate it together. Have some really frank conversations. Hey, if that thing we tried 2 weeks ago isn't quite working, let's not do that. Let's do something else, and keep learning for ourselves, right? But also they maintain a very high level of transparency, right? And a lot of focus. I think that's what matters most because keeping staff engaged and motivated,
True.
that's the number one thing, right? The whole manifesto talks about collaboration, face to face, right? And don't do the stuff that shouldn't be done, right? And all that. But then the most, fundamental thing to all of that is people. And what's, moving on then to the failure side of things is, for a lot of companies, agile transformation, the first thing that comes along is a restructure.
Yeah.
People have to let
Yeah.
go,
True. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Before anyone's even said anything, it's already decided. I'm sorry, 2/3 of the company is going.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Right? What is that? So, they also focus. I mentioned earlier about vanity metrics, right? They care about the things that really don't matter in agility, right? Like they also get distracted and bring in unnecessary bureaucracy. Now, this is a shifting problem. Sometimes, they change the leadership structure, and someone else comes along, and they're not on board with Agile, and they're not on board with it. They just want to have some, I guess, some stapleness, some stability within their company, and not all this sort of, changing cultures and that. But
Yes.
I think the number one problem is leadership. Why agile transformations don't work, why they don't fail the adoption itself is that the senior stakeholders don't buy in. Agile is like for everyone else, not for us, right? We're not going to have stand-ups. We're not going to continuously collaborate and get in touch and share feedback. No, it's for the teams below us. We just get the report, right?
Very interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, you raised a lot of good points there, Nick. And it made me think on across a lot of things. And one thing that's important, I think, is the people. And with all these methodologies, there's a lot of psychology involved. And in every organizational changes, just like you mentioned, there will always be challenges, right? So, for example, you've touched about leadership, but there are also people on the ground that, it's I have a legacy way of thinking. I'm not sold into this, right? And for example, if you have like activities like retrospectives, sometimes it turns out into a blame game. Or sometimes if you have like sprint retrospectives, I wasn't able to finish my job because I have a lot of distractions. People are like shoulder tapping me and all that. How would you, as an agile coach, would tackle all this human psychology involved in it? There's a lot I know, but maybe you can highlight a few.
Okay, so I think your question there was kind of a bit of a two parts. One
Yeah.
was perhaps the aversion to retrospectives, and the other one is a little bit more aligned with blame culture.
Uh-huh.
So that could
Yes.
happen anywhere, right? In
Mm,
retrospectives or in
mm,
person. As soon as
mm.
production goes down, hey, who did that? Who
Yeah.
did that? You know, I wanna have a
Yeah.
chat with him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
could
Totally.
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So to answer the first one, if someone is not sort of really getting the point or
Mm-hmm.
getting any value out of their retrospective or any of the ceremonies, for example, then it's really
Mm,
about understanding why,
Mm.
mm,
right? Too often we're, if I told you right now I hate flying, you probably the first thing that comes into your mind will be, oh,
mm,
is he, does he have a phobia?
Mm.
Is he afraid of flying or something? You never think that the
mm,
problem is flying,
mm,
right? You never think the problem is the plane. You always think it's the person saying it.
mm.
So in the same way, when someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I don't get this retro thing, man," well, what is it
Yeah.
about it that you don't get? Why don't you
Yeah.
like it? Do
Mm.
Mm,
you find the sharing too honest? Is it that an hour is too long? Do you not like post-its? Do you not like
mm,
writing sharpies? Do you not like using Miro? What is
mm.
it? It's trying to understand where they come from and why do they have that point of view.
Mm.
Right.
Because we can't say on the one hand this is about people, and then on the other hand just say no, that's just you, man. And that's not
Mm,
cool either. So it's
mm,
about understanding where they are and meeting them
mm.
there, and then saying, well, what if we tried something else?
Yeah.
Mm.
If this doesn't work for you, this format's not
Mm,
great for you, how do we try
mm,
something else? And then you tell me if that works. Yeah.
mm.
But
Yeah.
on the other
That's.
hand, when it
Mm,
comes to blame culture,
mm,
that will pervade everything, right? Blame culture is rife when there is a lack of psychological safety.
Mm.
So
yes.
there's no way you can point at blame and get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm,
what you can do is produce or work in it to create an environment that's
mm,
conducive for psychological safety to happen.
mm,
And so if you know, example, that there are some fairly prominent people that are into this type of negative, harmful behavior,
Uh,
mhm,
then of course have a chat with them first just to find out their
mhm,
perspectives as well. Because not, they might be operating out of fear, they might not
mhm,
be getting the reports, they might be under a lot of pressure.
mm,
So it's really about understanding them and really
mm,
connecting, making that
true.
connection you need.
True.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Yeah, that's really good, Nick, and I think it's adapting to agile involves a lot of human psychology understanding as well. Which I think uh, uh, us humans are built to basically uh, disagree to new ideas if you are holding on a specific ideas, and I think that's the challenge all the time that we see. Now I'm going to segue a little bit because when we talk about agile, there is this interesting concept that I read about. It's basically the death of agile, which in my reading basically says that in an organizational journey to agile adoption, the agile needs to die many times and then rise again, so that
Wow.
and find a way to actually fit to what the organization needs to do so that they can be successful. And you've touched a little bit something about what we see in other organizations where they every 2 years they'll do restructure and so on, and that I think can cause a lot of problem. Well, that's an outside view from my end. So can you talk to me about that death of agile, and how do you see this happening in the field?
Mhm.
Okay. Yes. Well, first, can I say,
Mm,
in a sentence like agile has to die, it's a little bit
mm.
absolute, a little bit too finite for me.
Okay.
I like to think of it more in terms of agile is to go through its
Mm.
own evolution path,
Evolution.
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Mm.
So
Mm.
here's an example. A
Mm.
company that has been working fairly long now in a traditional
Mm.
form, and they
Mm.
decided that we need a change. Okay, let's
Mm.
bring in some people who can help us get there. And so
Mm.
Mm.
those
Mm.
people will probably look at the situation and end up recommending a solution, right?
Mm.
Hopefully it's something fairly agile.
Mm.
And then this company is going to go there, right? There might be a restructure. There might be a lot
Mm.
of people being put into
Mm.
positions they're not familiar
Mm.
with. And then,
Mhm.
they may or may not receive some support around that. But
Mhm.
then even very agile companies will fail, right?
Yes.
So ultimately, it really depends on how we frame all of this,
Mm.
right? For me, in my experience, and this is a very personal view, I find that when I go into an engagement and meet a company or a company going through a transformation or thinking about one, I try not to be overly critical.
Okay.
Where you are is where you are for reasons that I will never understand. And so I will never pretend to understand it. But
Mhm.
where you want to go and where we are now, I can help you with that. And so, from a perspective of are we there yet? Well, it's not a destination, so never mind that. But then, really, what is it about where we're going, where we want to be, and how far away is it? Like, how far is it out of reach? And so, if we're on our way there, and then we find that actually, some circumstances have changed in the company, and we need to dial our agile down a little bit, then that's what we'll do
Mhm.
because it's more important to achieve the end goal, the big picture, than it is this small little thing right in front of us right now. And in that
Interesting.
sense, to be an agilist, you need to be able to take stock of the situation and make an intelligent move from there. And if you know the market's just not going to wait for you while you figure out how to work together and you need to put this thing onto customers' hands right now, then that's what you do now. But you can come back to that, right? So
That's yeah.
it's not so terminal for me. It's more, if not now, maybe later.
So that brings me to this, consideration after listening to you, that uh, it is really important to set a foundation, or foundational practice that is really focusing on creating a team culture that enables collaboration and whatever practice that needs to
Mhm.
be in that foundation, so that you can iterate all the time. And I think in agile you have this practice of celebrating failure. You have the daily stand up, you have the uh, definition of ready, or I'm just remembering the open
Yeah.
library. What do you call that, Nick?
Practice library. Is that-
Open practice library,
Uh-huh.
and the Mobius loop, where you need
Mhm.
to do discovery, and then you need to put options in the middle, and then delivery. So yeah, is that important as well in your perspective as
Absolutely.
as a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's another example, right? Let's say we want to lose weight, right? Maybe we're
Mm-hmm.
packing a few pounds, we want to lose weight. And at any one point in time, you never know what your weight is,
Mm-hmm.
ever, right? Except
Yeah.
if you get a weighing scale. And that's why all of us who are on this weight loss thing always, maybe after brushing our teeth, before we've had any food, when we're at our lightest, we go stand on that scale and we go, yeah, I've lost some
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one day
Yeah.
you step on that scale, right,
Yeah.
after you brush your teeth and you actually put on weight, and then what
Yeah.
do? You don't stop. Because if you
That's
stop,
true.
that's it. You got to keep going, right? You got to keep going, keep trying, keep thinking. Because once you stop, that's it,
Mhm.
right? You stop evolving. And once you stop evolving, you lead to those failure factors I was
Yeah.
talking about. It's a it's something that when you start, there is no end.
Yeah.
So that's right, and that supports the what you tell us earlier, that without a proper foundation, teams or an organization cannot reach a sustainable, continuous, delivery based on that Mobius loop. Which is really, if you tie it up, that's where the conversation goes, right?
True.
So yeah. So um, you shared a lot, and I it actually opens up a lot of sort of like thinking around agile and agility. So and we know agility is a state of being, and there are much that we can learn about organizational change from other disciplines as well, right? In your experience, what are the most important factors for organization to consider first before diving into let's go agile,
Mhm.
and dive into, yeah, today we'll start agile adoption? What do you think is are those important factors as a
Um,
foundation?
Clarity.
Clarity.
Clarity with alignment, I think. Clarity on its
Mm,
own is great, but then it doesn't
mm,
sort of inspire you to do much. But
Yep.
when you have
yes.
clarity and alignment together, then
Mm,
there is a common purpose,
that's
Hmm.
right?
very good.
So, um, I like to think of it in terms of
Mm,
what problem are we trying to solve? Right? A
mm,
lot of times people chase after agility and
mm,
transformations and
mm,
this the journey because
mm,
everyone else is doing it. That's not a reason.
Right.
That's a trend,
Hmm.
right?
mm,
A reason is where, okay, our customers are leaving us or
mhm,
our feedback is really terrible and we want to
mm,
improve it,
mm,
or we haven't led the market sector
mm,
at all in the last 2 years, and we
mm,
used to be the top, the
Uh-huh.
top company in that area in that
mm,
industry. These are reasons because these are things that will, you know, in the effort to continuously improve, if
mhm,
agile turns out to be the wrong thing for you, and it's entirely
mhm,
possible it could be the wrong thing,
Hmm.
mhm,
then you need to have that mindset that goes, actually, that is the wrong thing. Let's do
Hmm.
mm,
something else.
Yep.
mm,
Right. And agile also has its place, right? In terms of everyone goes, right, if I'm in software, I have to go agile. If I'm in something
mm,
else, maybe I have a choice. That's not true in any sense of the word,
mm,
Hmm.
right? But
mm,
those of us who live and breathe this stuff, yeah, it might seem that it's
mm,
happening more often than not, but it's still a probability
mm,
statistic, right? It's
mm,
not
Yep.
a definitive, yes, you will succeed or no, you won't,
mm,
right? So at the end of the day, I would say, what is the problem you're trying to solve?
Hmm.
And what do you think the best solution might be to solving that?
mm,
Just with anything else,
Yep.
right?
mm,
If I've got a nail in the wall, I'm going to use a hammer. If I've got a screw I need to
mm,
take out, use a screwdriver.
Screwdriver. Mm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Right. And someone once
mm,
told me this really
mm,
popular thing. This thing that
mm,
really stuck with me. When you're holding a
mm,
hammer,
mhm,
everything looks like a nail.
mm.
Right.
Right.
True. And you just want to hammer in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
You're not gonna
you got
screw
the
those
you got the
anyway.
power. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
It's
gonna hammer
against
everything.
human
That's it.
psychology. Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Clarity is very important. That's
Yeah.
on an organizational
Mm,
level, Nick. But
mm,
what will you advise those people,
mm,
maybe in general, IT professionals and managers out
mm,
there?
mm,
I never realized that agile discussion would be so deep, and it opens a lot of perspective, right? What would
yeah.
you give them when it comes to like, oh, I want to learn more about it. I want to hear more
Mm,
about it. For those who are interested, how can they learn more about agile? Dig deeper into it.
mm.
Yeah. When you say learn more, I'm thinking about Michael's Bond, right? Okay, so
There you go. Yeah, yeah,
um, knowledge is a tricky thing.
yeah.
Hmm.
Mm,
Knowledge is a tricky thing because when all you do is learn one thing,
Uh-huh.
mhm.
then all you know and you become that one thing,
Oh.
right? It's fairly
Yes.
philosophical, but
Mm,
so in that same way, if every time someone comes to me and says, "Tell me more about agility," and I gave them this one book and I said, "No matter what you do, only read this book,"
Uh,
mm,
then you can expect at some point they'll be really proficient in that book. But
mm,
that's not the goal, is it? The goal here is to actually be adaptive enough to handle what comes. So I can speak from my
yes.
personal experience.
yep.
Growing up, I was kind of
Mm,
in technology, solving problems with tech. And
mm,
then eventually I found my interest shifted more into the human side of things. So
Mm.
mm,
or
mm,
Mm.
engineering, if you
mm, mm,
and now that I'm in here,
mm.
I'm still with that engineering mindset. So what problems are we trying to solve together?
Yeah,
Right.
Or
yeah,
what problems are
yeah,
we trying to solve in our
yeah.
organization?
Mm,
So taking the engineering into the human science area,
Mm.
if you like, and then really sort of peeling that apart and saying, right, what problems are we trying to solve? So
mm,
as an example, if I'm in an organization and I find that perhaps there's issues with scaling,
Mm-hmm.
then right, what kind of knowledge do I need about scaling? I'll go read it up myself. That
mm,
keeps it engaging because I'm not reading about something that's artificial to me. I actually need to know this stuff.
mm,
Right. So from the perspective, I say if you're starting out where you are now
Mm.
and you're wondering what Scrum is, go read about Scrum, go learn about Scrum, take a
Mm.
class,
mm.
take an exam,
Yep.
take it from the source. Don't read someone's blog and then, get a
Yeah.
second opinion of it. Go to
Mm,
the source,
mm,
learn what it's about, and then after that
mm,
you go, I wonder what's next.
Yeah.
Keep
mm,
asking. because it's a journey that you yourself will pay.
Journey.
Right? You invest in yourself, and you're
Yep.
as successful or not successful as you set yourself up to be. So that's my journey. I started through engineering, and then it's always about solving problems for me.
And it's a good combo. And thank you so much. Like we've really learned a lot from you when it comes to agile methodologies and those nuggets of wisdom out there. But just to wrap things up, any last few words to all our listeners, to all out there, maybe also just for me and Mike. Any last few words?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. So where do I start? Can I just say a huge appreciation to you and your audience?
Thank you.
I mean, to talk about something that's quite central to my heart and feeling is quite special. And to share with two of you guys that I know quite well, and you know, you're both amazing human beings. And you know, I hope that this episode will inspire others to pursue knowledge and to continue to develop their skill sets. Right? Be agile about it. Keep learning, keep growing, keep adapting, keep appreciating, looking at things in a different way. But most of all, keep connecting. Authentic relationships, right? Build those bridges. And you know, I've had a lot of fun on your show, so thank you. It's been an amazing discussion, and I just want to wish you guys all the best with the rest of season 1, and looking forward to season 2, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
There you go, Michael.
Thanks,
Nicholas Wong, thank you. It was definitely a very good conversation. You've heard it straight from Nick. Continue learning, continue establishing, keep connecting, keep those relationships intact. There's a lot of things into it, not just the engineering, but also the human side of it. So very good wisdom, very good piece of advice. Thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate your time. And to all our listeners out there, we hope, and I know for sure that you've learned a lot of things and that you pick up all those nuggets that you can use in your daily lives. So stay tuned for our next episode. Subscribe, like, and share. Thanks again, Nick. Thanks, Mike. Have a good night, everyone. See ya. Bye-bye.